Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm your host, Megarower31. You can hear me, you can't see me. I am out camping, but still on my iPad, so I can still do videos. And wow, yesterday. And holy cow. So, Darvish got blown up by Pittsburgh. I saw when the Colorado lineup come out, I thought, oh, absolutely. If there's any time to play Patrick Corbin, this is the day. And then I had a lot of Allen versus Casey, and it didn't go very well. So obviously we never played Patrick Corbin. I've learned my lesson. One of my mentors in DFS, his name was Glenn Flores. And Glenn, if you're out there, I hope you're doing well. I haven't talked to you in a while. But he had a thing that he used to call the Tulo list, and it was named after Troy Tulowitzki, where we'd be tempted to play Troy Tulowitzki here and there in great situations, and he'd never deliver. So he had a list of players on this thing, and Troy Tulowitzki was the head of it, that we would never play again because we hadn't learned our lesson enough times, and it finally came to the point where they need to go on the list. So Patrick Corbin, you are now officially on the Tulo list. So we will not be playing you again. But anyways, so that was rough. So actually I was at a concert last night and I was waiting to get into the venue. I was kind of bored, so I was flipping through FanDuel and there's still some entries in the $2.22. So I was just kind of randomly thinking about the video and things I talked about and throwing lines in. And then, I checked at the end of the concert around 11 o'clock and I was just my night's over. I saw that, the pitchers I selected got blown up and just weird offenses went off, and then it just went back to my camper and went to bed. And then when I woke up this morning, both my DK account and my FanDuel account had $500 extra in it. And I was like, what happened? And I looked back and Maneta came through for me. And I had stacked St. Louis because I really liked the lefties. I knew, I believe it's Nelson against Arizona was a horrible pitcher. And then the only team that really fit in well with them was Houston. And McCormick had a great night. It hit, and I finished second in the $2.22 and did well in some GPPs and in DK also. So luckily the night was saved. But we're on to another slate here, 12 games, little weather, not major concerns. Again, we have some decent pitchers here, and we'll have to see what happens with them in good spots. We have some good bats in some spots, so let's just dive into it and see what we got. So first game, we have Colorado at Washington. We have Austin Gomber and Trevor Williams. I do not like either one of these pitchers. I'm going to cross them off. A little bit of rain here should be okay. It's only about 30%, and it gets less and less as you get into the night. So maybe a delay and a wet start, but they should be fine to play baseball. And I really like both teams here, and they're both cheap. Washington, we just have to watch because Lane Thomas got hit by a pitch, and then he was pulled from the game. But they were up a lot, so people are thinking it was just probably maybe a more precautionary thing than anything. So hopefully he will be good to go tonight because he's in a great spot. And we'll have to see if some of the Rockies actually come back into the lineup after sitting out last night. But obviously it doesn't matter because if you've got a bad pitcher on the mound, they'll be able to hit you anyways, even with a AA lineup out there. So both teams' bats are in play. Mets and Yankees, currently it's kind of in the red for weather-wise. Looks like a 60% chance of rain up to the first pitch and then a 40% after that. So just be cautious with this one. Verlander and Herman. Verlander, he's been up and down. I don't think this is the time to play him on such a large slate. Herman, I know he had the perfect game, but he's been up and down this season also. So neither one of them I really feel super confident in. Both offenses, I think you'll throw those in the 20 max category just with the weather and everything. Just if you do play Yankees, just remember Verlander's turned into kind of a reverse blitz pitcher, so kind of want the righties against him more than the lefties. But I think anybody's in play if you're going there. It's a GPP and you just want to kind of stack them close together for correlation. So if the stack goes off, then you're off to the races. I don't think you really want to play anybody through this game as one-offs or anything like that. So next up, we have Atlanta and Boston, Charlie Morton, and looks like Pavetta's going to go long relief with Bernardino opening. Morton I like, but it's a park downgrade. Boston has a lot of lefties, and he doesn't really have a high K rate, and the wind's blowing out at like 6 miles per hour. So not really super interested in Morton, but in GPPs I'm fine with it. And Pivetta, I have the Boston guys as fade. If you are chasing the Pivetta game where he came in and we didn't know he was going to pitch, and he went and like broke the slate, he went like 7 innings, had like 13 strikeouts or something sick like that. But again, it's a part downgrade because I believe he was out in Seattle or Oakland. I think it was Oakland. So, obviously the Braves are not Oakland, and the Braves are a really good offense and a really good hitting situation here. So I think, the Braves are probably my second favorite offense on the slate, so I'm not touching Pivetta. Boston, I think in the GPP, I just probably would just stack the lefties and go from there. Turner's fine, righty on righty. He's been pretty consistent in hitting on both sides of the plate. Kansas City and Cleveland, we have Zach Greinke and Aaron Civale. I saw some amazing stories saying that Zach Greinke might be traded at the trade deadline, which I just find completely remarkable because, I don't really know what contender would really want him or anything, but hey, maybe they know some things about him that we don't. And then Civale is not a really great strikeout pitcher, but he did have a outing against KC earlier in the year, not too long ago actually. I think he had 9 strikeouts and went 6 or 7 innings, so he should go deep into the game. He should get some strikeouts, and he should be able to pay off his price tag. So I really like him. He's my second favorite in the medium range. If you're trying to pay down for your SP2 and don't want to go dumpster diving. KC bats would just be leverage because I think Civale will definitely have some ownership. And the Cleveland bats, they have a 5 total here, and they're relatively cheap. So I know, and they're starting to hit for some more power. And I think, even if they don't, they can put up some runs against Greinke in this KC bullpen. So definitely like them as the third favorite stack on the slate. Seattle and Minnesota, another good pitching matchup. We have Kirby and Lopez. Kirby is really strong against righties. He doesn't walk a lot of batters, so I think he's definitely in play, and I really like the price tag at 8.7 here. Lopez is the highest, most expensive pitcher, I believe, on both slates. Maybe Snell's more expensive, but pretty close. And I think he's definitely in play against Seattle. There's strikeouts for both teams on both sides. Minnesota lost Buxton. He's out injured again. So it's just a lot of, these teams, of course, like Pittsburgh last night, could go off. And so maybe it's worthwhile to hedge if you are playing these as you're in your cash lineup, to play a GPP with a stack of the team that's against your cash pitcher. And I mean, that's always a good recommendation, is just throw it in $1. So in case it goes off, and I won $500 in a $2.22 last night because I, threw some, it wasn't a hedge stack, but it was just, a stack like that. And that could happen. You might think your night's over because your cash flopped because the pitcher that was in a great situation wasn't, but the bats went off against him and you're hedging and playing that in a GPP, then that definitely will help you out there. So like both pitchers here, definitely probably the top in their price range. And then if you want to go with some leverage on both sides, that's fine. Minnesota, I stick with lefties. There are a lot of cheap ones. And if you want to get Brave stack in, then stack the Braves. You can take 2 medium range pitchers here, and we'll talk about that when we get to lineup builds. And then some of these Minnesota guys are just 2K or less than 2K. And again, stay with the lefties, but Wallner, Castro, right there, 2 hitters in a row, whereas 2K and 2.2, and even Kepler mixed in there too is 2.8. So you probably won't want to do that because then you're going to be able to play Acuna in the stack. But there's definitely opportunity here to play these Minnesota bats, and they're very, very cheap, and you have the right handedness that you need. And next up, we have Texas and Houston. This game went off last night. We have Corey Bradford, and then it looks like he's opening, and then White's coming in. So we don't know if White ends up being the starter. He's probably going to go 3 to 4 innings. He's pitched as a starter in minor league, but he only goes 60 or 70 pitches. So at minimum price on DK, that can open a lot for bats and GPP, so I left him in the cheap one. But you have to see what the situation is before we play them. France I'm not interested in, even though Garcia's banged up and Simeon's out of the lineup. Texas obviously still has a lot of decent bats and some pop here. So I think Texas is my favorite 20 max team here, just because I've seen what they can do offensively. Jankowski hitting second. Lowe I like. Garcia if he's in. Jung looks like he's starting to find his form again after going through a cold snap. Heim switch hitter. I always like Duran. Play a lot of Duran. And then even in the bottom of the lineup, you have two switch hitters, or Grossman and Traveris, who have some speed and power on occasion. And then the Houston side of a favorite GPP stack, I think. Alvarez should be back in this one, and it's kind of like a bullpen game for Texas, so definitely whoever you want to play, throw them in there. And even a game stack works. I did this on FanDuel, I think, and I was able to do a 4-4 stack, and I actually really liked. I got the handedness that I wanted in each position. I think it came down to a choice of like Bregman or Young, and they were like both the same price. So well, again, we can talk about that more in lineup building session, but definitely keep your eye on both of these teams. I think there's not a total out because this Texas situation hasn't been settled yet, who's actually pitching. And then when that comes out, Vegas will drop a line, but I think it'll definitely be pretty high, probably like 9 or something tonight. Next up, we have Cincinnati at Milwaukee, so park downgrade for the Reds. Cooled off a little bit. Andrew Abbott, very good young pitcher, up against a Milwaukee team who struggles against left-handed pitching, so definitely somebody that's going to be in play. And Burns on the other side has definitely found his form. I know the Cincinnati team has been pretty impressive recently, and they can throw some lefties at him, but with the park downgrade and them not clicking on all cylinders like they were before the All-Star break, then I think that definitely Burns is a great play here, and I like the discount on some of the higher priced pitchers in the upper tier also. And like I said, Abbott can definitely be in play also. So Milwaukee, I like his GPP in case Abbott struggles. Stick with the righties there: Contreras, Abrams, Ardanis, Miller. Tyrone Taylor might hit in the middle. Jamal Jones is like very, very cheap at 2-2. So definitely a GPP stack, but definitely a value stack here, because I wouldn't play Yelich at 5K lefty and lefty. And then Cincinnati's always in consideration also. But I'm putting them as a leverage stack today, in the top leverage stack, because I think Burns is going to have a ton of ownership, and I think if Cincinnati goes off against them, then, you know, their ownership will be low due to their pricing and due to the matchup, and not being at the Great American Small Park. I think they'll definitely be in a great spot for a leverage play in your GPPs. Battle of the Windy City, we have the White Sox hosting the Cubs. Winds blowing in 9 miles per hour, and we know when that happens in Chicago, it favors hitting, but Kyle Hendricks I still don't want. Kopech on the other side, I think I definitely do like. I think both of these teams, bat-wise, are GPPs in the 20 max. Again, I'm not touching Hendricks, even though he is cheap. I mean, if you need somebody in 6'8", the White Sox have had their struggles, and with the wind blowing in, I'm not super excited about it, but I left him in the cheap category just because there aren't many options there. So in GPPs, I think he's the way to go. If you're playing like 20 max or like a 3 max tournaments, I think you still want to pay up for a couple pitchers and get different with the cheaper bats than try to take a really, really cheap pitcher and go from there. And again, if you're doing that mindset, then you might as well just drop down to White if he's definitely coming in or definitely starting, or long relief at 4K if he goes like a couple innings, grabs a couple strikeouts, and pays off his tag. It's better than paying like 6-8 for Hendricks, and that could be the difference between like a 2K bat and a 4K bat for you somewhere in your lineup. Pittsburgh and San Diego, Rich Hill and Blake Snell. Rich Hill, no thank you. Blake Snell should be the best pitcher on the slate, but he did get blown up his last start he just had, but he was like really, really good before that. So we'll just consider that a hiccup. I like Lopez and Burns better in their matchups, but Snell is definitely up there and in play. Pittsburgh only has a 2.91 total, so obviously they're another leverage stack for bats. San Diego is the top one on the slate here with all their power against Rich Hill, if you can get to them. But again, there is some cheap pitching and you can make it work. Definitely like Sanchez here. He's in a great spot at 3.5. I mean, the rest of the team is like, and Kim leading off here at 4.4. Those are good, and then try to mix in some of the more expensive bats, but I mean, it's very expensive. And again, you can do it if you mix in like Minnesota or Milwaukee. You have the cheap bats to make it work, and you can make it work with the mid-range pitching. But I think I'm going other places in cash tonight, but I definitely San Diego or Atlanta, if you want to pay up for your cash stack, it definitely works. St. Louis in Arizona, Steven Matz and Kelly, not interested. I don't know, it was Gallon when I first looked at it, so I'm going to take him out, and I'm going to put Kelly over here in the no interest spot. I'll definitely move Abbott up there. So, yeah, Kelly, I'm not interested. Coming back from the IL, don't know how long he's going to go. St. Louis definitely put up some runs last night and definitely can do that again here. And Matt's on the other side. He's like 1-7 or something like that. So Arizona is definitely in play here against the lefty. Perdomo is probably not in the lineup, so it's kind of hard to like with your stack because you don't have a shortstop, so you got to find a team that has a decent shortstop or just take a one off there. And then St. Louis, again, probably going to look at the lefties, but Goldsmith and Arenado are both potential. I don't know what St. Louis is going to do here. I've seen that they're going to try to trade away some of these big pieces to try to continue to get younger, and I've also seen that they might try to continue to contend, but we'll see. It looks like there's a lot of righties in the preliminary lineup, but I think, the priorities would be Gorman, Nootbaar, and Donovan, and then fill in whatever big bats that you think would work out for you to finish the stack. So maybe it's just a 3-man stack, or if you want to go full 5-man in a GPP, then Goldsmith and Arizona are definitely decent hitters to throw in the stack there. Next, we have Oakland and San Francisco, Waldichuk and Cobb. Waldichuk, not interested in. I think San Francisco's got a over 5 total, so not interested in. Alex Cobb is probably your best point per dollar one on the slate. He comes with more strikeouts than Savali, but he's been inconsistent in how those strikeouts. I think his last start, he won a bunch of innings, had 0 strikeouts, or like 1 or 2. It really wasn't that much. And Oakland can be pesky, but it all depends on the day, it seems. And they're dealing with some injuries also, and they've cooled off a lot since they had a little resurgence after being the worst team to start off like a season. So Oakland's always in play in the cheap range for fill-in bats if you want to. If you think Cobb's not going to get the strikeouts and he might walk some people, but Oakland only has a 2.91 total, so I think Cobb's like the safer side to play Cobb than Oakland bats. And then San Francisco is my favorite cheap stack here. Slater leading off with the righty. Wilmer Flores has been on fire recently, and he's always done well against left-handed. Like 2 or 3 years ago, McKinley used to make fun of me because every single slate he was against a lefty, I would have him in a core. J.D. Davis, Bailey at catcher if you want to pay up at 3.7 there. Matos, even though he doesn't have much power, like he has a splits advantage and can make contact and get on base. So even Villar and Schmidt, cheap pieces if you want to do a wraparound stack. So San Francisco is definitely in play here as a primary stack or a fill-in stack. Finally, we end the night with Toronto and the Dodgers. We have Chris Bassett and Urias. Bassett I'm not interested in at all. He's better at home, but not against this Dodger team. And then Urias, he's just way overpriced here. He has had some good outings, but he's been better at home, but he struggles. And it's a Blue Jay team that's like almost all right-handed hitters, and he's not good against right-handed hitters. So I think Toronto definitely is in play for a GPP stack, and we've been saying that the bullpen behind him is not that great either. So that's what we got for the full breakdown. Let's look at the builds, and we'll get you on your way for your day. So for DK, I'm going to take Snell as my pitcher. I think I'm going to play up. I think I might go Snell and Burns or Snell and Lopez or Snell and Abbott here because I really like stacking Cleveland and Washington. I think they're both in great spots. They can put up some runs. There's a lot of floor there. And I think, not paying up for I'd rather pay up for the floor of two pitchers in really good spots on this slate than to pay up for. And if you want to do San Diego, you want to do Atlanta, I said that's fine. Then you can take Snell and maybe Cobb or Savelli there to save, or maybe you just want to play two of the medium range guys and start your pitchers off there, and then you can get your Braves stack in, your San Diego stack in, and then you can mix in the cheap Milwaukee bats or the cheap Minnesota bats or any other cheap bats, Oakland, Colorado, even some Washington, San Francisco guys. There's lots of options to make it work for you. But here I'm taking Ruiz a catcher. Naylor's probably the best bet at first base, but Menendez or Mensis, the Washington guy, or Bell is like 2,800, so and switch hitters, so definitely there. Second base, I'll let you figure out if you want to take Cleveland guy or take a Washington guy there, depending on who's in the lineup. I think the biggest choice on the slate that helps you with your SP1 is if you take Jose Ramirez or you take Candelario. Candelario's been hot recently. There's talks that he might be moved at the trade deadline. So, I think he might be auditioning for a contender, so he's definitely a good spot. There's a huge price difference, and it'll really help you with determine your SP1 from there. Or your SP, whoever you fill in with Snell and pitcher, if you take Snell as your SP 1 or 2, however it works out. So your second pitcher slot, let's just say it that way. Abrams, lefty and lefty, Rosario, right and righty. Neither one have the split matchup. I think Rosario's a little bit cheaper, or maybe Abrams a little bit cheaper. One of the two is a little bit cheaper, but whichever one you prefer, however you want to build your stack there. Then Kwan in the outfield, and then decide Brennan's there. I did put Thomas in because I don't know if he's going to be in with the injury, but Stone or Call are definitely cheap guys also that can help you get to J-Rom and a decent pitcher if you don't play Thomas in the outfield if he's out of the lineup for some reason. I think all the other cheap Washington guys or Brennan are definitely in play there to finish out your line. So for FanDuel, Lopez is who I'm going with. Same stack, Ruiz. Second base, decide on which team you want to go there. Candelario, J-Rom, you don't have to really make the choice here because you can play one of those in your utility. Abrams, Kwan. I put Thomas in here, but again, if he's not in, then you can go Stone, you can go Call, you can go Brennan, or you can just take a one off if you like the rest of your line, and that definitely works also. For GPP, I'm going Savale and Cobb. One of the two of those up top. I might take both of them. Catcher, if you can get up to Bailey there, or you can punt or play the Arizona guy in the stack. Flores at first base. You can go Walker if you want to there, because they are against a lefty. If one of the two aren't in the lineup, it makes the choice a lot simpler, but maybe you make two lineups and one has Flores and one has Walker, and then split your cash, it's a GPP line anyway, so you probably won't be playing it once. JD Davis there. Shortstop, this is here might determine what your second slot of the pitcher is, because I don't really like the shortstop for either team because Perdomo is expensive and he might not be in. Amon is more of a defensive guy. And Schmidt is really cheap. He's only $2,400 for San Francisco. So, he's a punt and he fits in the stack. So I think that makes a lot of sense too. And that'll help you pay up for your second pitcher slot if you want to. For outfielders, Gurriel and Slater, give me the two there. And then if you can afford Carroll in your stack, that's fine. Lefty on lefty is fine. If he gets on base, he's got speed. He can do a lot of things. He can do damage versus the bullpen later in the game after the starting pitcher gets probably chased. So for FanDuel, same thing. Kirby, give me Walker. Flores, I can play a second base, or Marte. If you want both of them, play one in utility. JD Davis, shortstop, same thing. Figure out who fits in there or take a one off. And then Slater, Carroll, and then whoever you want to fill in, whether it be an Arizona guy like Uriel would work there well, having the splits advantage, or take one of the San Francisco guys, and that's what I got. So lots of ways to go. Like I said, you can also get the San Diego, Atlanta in there, Dodgers, you know, if you want to make a stack. There's lots of great teams and great situations tonight. So have some fun, build some lineups. I appreciate you watching the video, even though you couldn't see me. Hopefully the content has been helpful to you. So as always, appreciate you watching the video. If you want to help us even more, give it a like, subscribe to our channel so you know when our videos are coming out. And you can share with your friends if you want more information on FSi DFS. It is in the description of the video. You can go in there, get in our Discord, sign up for our package. It's very, very cheap if you compare it to some of the other packages in the industry. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat below. Love your feedback and different comments and stuff that you have found helpful, questions that you have to help you more, or even like things that we can do better, like not play Patrick Corbin, which was a spot on comment last night. So I thank you that all your feedback has just been wonderful. Or you can hit me up at MegaRoar31 on Twitter if you want to ask some more private questions that you don't want to put in the chat in front of everybody. So thanks again for watching. I will get this video up. It's already noon here, so sorry for the late start, but I wanted to do a really good job breaking it down and have some other things going on here, not being at home. So good luck in your contests. Hope everybody has a good day. You know how to go to